Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Friends, before going into the details of the war, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. Please support by subscribing and turning on the notification bell. We are a strong community. Russians transport missiles from Belarus to Donbass. Belarusian Hajun investigators of the Belarusian Hajun initiative have reported that over the past 2 days, 8 arrivals of Russian Il-76's cargo aircraft occurred in Machulishchy airfield. These were exporting missiles to S-300 and S-400 surface-to-air missile launchers from Belarus. Details. According to investigators, on the 11th of November, the planes stayed at the airfield for 3.5 to 4.5 hours, which is long enough for unloading. On the 12th of November, they stayed for generally 5.5 to 6.5 hours. The Belarusian Hajun staff believes that there are 3 possible reasons why these cargo planes fly to Belarus: delivery of new missiles and/or ammunition to the Republic of Belarus, export of missiles and/or ammunition from Belarus to the Russian Federation, simultaneous import and export of various types of weaponry. They explain why the second version is correct. Quote, "First of all, it is a long time spent at the airfield. Secondly, and this is more significant, on 9 and the 10th of November, just before the start of Il-76 arrivals, 16 trawls with containers for missiles under the S-300-400's air defense system, 4 missile containers on each, were recorded in the direction of the Machulishchy airfield, which totals, at least 64 missiles. As for the first and the third versions, there is no confirmation yet. The export of missiles or anything else from the territory of the airfield, after possible unloading from the Il-76, was not recorded. That is, the most unrealistic version so far is just delivering missiles to the Republic of Belarus, and there is still not enough data to confirm the version with the simultaneous import and export of various weapons. So, if our assumption is confirmed, then the missiles are being transported to the Rostov region, the Russian Federation. That is to supply missiles to the grouping in the Luhansk and Donetsk directions. 2 truckloads of killed Russian troops as Ukraine reports high-precision strike. Ukraine's general staff reports that a building with 500 Russian troops was hit with a high-precision strike in Dnipriany, on the east bank of Kherson Oblast. As a result, 2 trucks of dead invaders were taken to Tavriysk. 56 seriously wounded were delivered to the nearest hospital. 16 of them died soon. Russia rejects G20's focus on security issues. Bali. Russia on Sunday called for the G20 to stop talking about security and focus on the world's most pressing socio-economic problems, ahead of a summit set to be dominated by Western criticism of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The G20, a group of the world's largest economies that make up more than 80% of global GDP, is set to meet on the Indonesian island of Bali this week, with Western leaders including US President Joe Biden expected to use the high-profile forum to slam Russia publicly over the war in Ukraine. In a statement issued ahead of the summit, Russia's foreign ministry said it was fundamentally important that the G20 concentrate its efforts on real, rather than imaginary, threats. It added, "We are convinced that the G20 is called upon to deal with socio-economic problems. Expanding its agenda into areas of peace and security, which many countries are talking about, is not viable. This would be a direct incursion on the mandate of the United Nations Security Council and will undermine the atmosphere of trust and cooperation in the G20. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will head Russia's delegation to the summit, the first since Moscow invaded Ukraine in February, after the Kremlin said President Vladimir Putin was too busy to attend. Earlier on Sunday, Mr. Lavrov scolded the West for seeking to militarize Southeast Asia, in comments that set the stage for a potentially tense confrontation at the G20. Russia said the global food crisis would form a key part of the agenda in Bali, which falls just days before the landmark Black Sea grain deal could expire on November 19. Moscow is calling for the West to ease some sanctions that it says block crucial agricultural and fertilizer exports, and has so far refused to commit to extend the deal, which facilitates grain exports from Ukraine's southern ports. Reuters Russia reveals execution of convict using sledgehammer as he had surrendered to armed forces of Ukraine. Russian Telegram channels posted a video of the execution of Evgeny Nuzhin, a former prisoner of the Ryazan Penal Colony 3 and a member of the Wagner private military company, who surrendered to the armed forces of Ukraine after being sent to the war against Ukraine. The man's head was smashed with a sledgehammer. Details. The video is edited from two parts. One part shows a fragment of Nuzhin's interview to a Ukrainian journalist after he had been taken to captivity. In that interview, Nuzhin reveals how Russians recruit convicts to the war against Ukraine, and that he deliberately joined the Wagner private military company to get into Ukrainian captivity and fight against Russia. Ed. Another part of the video shows a man in Ukrainian military uniform, with his head taped to a makeshift anvil made of bricks and concrete. He says that he is Evgeny Nuzhin, born in 1967, went to the front to join Ukraine and fight against the Russians, and that, on the 4th of September, he carried out his plan to join Ukraine. He also stated that on the 11th of November, he allegedly was on the streets of Kyiv, where he was hit on the head, lost consciousness and ended up in this basement, where they told him that he would be judged. After that, a man in military uniform hits Nuzhin on the head using a large sledgehammer. The convict falls down from the anvil, and the executioner hits him in the face again. At this point, the video ends. Russian social media also published an alleged comment by Yevgeny Prigozhin, the chief of the Wagner PMC, in which he admitted that the massacre was committed by his mercenaries. Quote from Prigozhin: "I prefer to watch this story in the theater." As for the executed, in this video it is clear that he did not find happiness in Ukraine, but met with evil but fair people. I think this film should be called Death to a Dog. Excellent director's work, you can watch it in one go. I hope no animals were hurt during the filming. Why this is important? Medusa noted that the statements that Nuzhin was captured in Kyiv sound implausible, as prisoners of war, POWs, cannot walk around freely. Russian social communities also write that Nuzhin was allegedly returned to Russia during one of the rounds of POW exchange. Perhaps, this video is intended to discourage the Russian conscripts from surrendering to Ukraine. The atrocities of the Wagnerites have been known for a while, and Prigozhin's mercenaries have been using a sledgehammer for murders since the war in Syria. The evidence of how in 2017 in Syria, the Wagnerites beat a man to death, quartered the body and burned it may be found in the network. We are Ukraine, tear of joy as locals celebrate Russian retreat from Kherson. Regional state administration says everything being done to restore normal life, but curfew ordered as security forces work on removing mines left by Russia's army. Ravdyne, Ukraine. Ukrainians on Saturday celebrated Russia's retreat from Kherson, as Kyiv said it was working to demine the strategic southern city, record Russian crimes and restore power across the region. Kherson was one of 4 regions in Ukraine that Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed to have annexed in September. Weeks later, the Russian retreat from the city of Kherson has boosted Ukrainian resistance after nearly 9 months of fighting and hardship. In the formerly occupied village of Pravdyne, outside Kherson, returning locals embraced their neighbors, with some unable to hold back tears. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.